All right, so another day in the market. So we've got some really interesting things to cover with you guys today about where Bitcoin could be going, whether up or down. But the first thing I want to cover with you is the Trump pump, right? Trump was literally bull posting about his own token that he launched right before his inauguration. And, we got to dive into this and look at the numbers here because, from the point that he posted about, Trump token being cool, it managed to pump up by 14%. It's now retraced down by 8%. Most of that pump is gone from the start to current price. It's now only up by 4.6%, which is, basically nothing. Very, very lackluster performance. And, we got to keep in mind the size of Trump token, okay? Trump token ranks 40th in the entire crypto space. Look at this. This is the post that he made right here, by the way. He says, "I love Trump, so cool, the greatest." It's hilarious. It's really, really funny. But I think what's really important is, rank 40, $2.3 billion market cap. And it's not a big coin, right? It's definitely not the smallest coin, but by far not the biggest coin at all. And like very, very far from being the biggest coin. And yet the president of the United States of America tweets about it on Truth Social, and it only goes up by 14%. So this is actually a symptom of a larger problem. And we've been having a lot of these symptoms in a lot of different ways in this market. And I'm going to be covering that with you in this YouTube video because I think it's actually one of the most important, relevant discussions in crypto right now for us to make sure that we can make money in this market, which is that when good things have happened, we haven't, we've had very lackluster performance. Now, I think there was a big exception over here where Bitcoin, had a really nice bottom at about 78K, and then it managed to get all the way up to 95K. It was a really solid 20% move. It happened within a very short space of time, right? But, ever since that, if we measure from there up until today, it's been, a solid 3 weeks now, and nothing's really happened in the market. And, I think that's important because if you look at the S&P 500, the S&P 500 is actually up by a little bit. So, it's very, very interesting, the fact that, the S&P 500 has managed to put itself in a better, it's got a nice looking chart, right? It's not bad. We'll cover this again in a little bit more detail. There are some bearish things you could say about it. It really depends on your thesis, right? If you were bearish already, you're going to be more bearish now. But if you were bullish already, then, it's kind of validating that a little bit. We'll come to this in a second. But, this thing about Trump, one of the reasons that this is a very important, relevant discussion is if you are in a bull market, so to speak, and something really bullish happens, but the market doesn't really respond to it, that's going to be a sign that, there's a lot of exhaustion in the market. And, it definitely looks like that's the case, right? We all feel it. There is a lot of exhaustion in this. I mean, just look at the metrics, right? Of like engagement, of like, just big Twitter profiles, big YouTubers or whatever, creators of coins, just communities in general. It's all dead. It's all shit. It's all desperate. So inside of that environment, you get the president, shilling a coin, it doesn't move up, but without even talking about the controversies of the president doing that, not really relevant to this video. It's clear it's a weird situation, and it does imply that we're not in a good place. I think that's very, very clear. I think for me, what I'm really seeing here is just, a very, very burnt out atmosphere in the market. And that's going to change if the market kind of starts to move. But, all of these markets are just paralyzed by, I think, the current White House. I've been saying this for a few months now, actually, like, basically, yeah, since, I can't say for a few months, but definitely for quite a few weeks, I've been saying this lately. And it seems like more and more people are saying this every day now as well, because there's just no trust, right? I mean, we get a kind of bullish Sunday on Bitcoin, and everyone's like, yeah, we're definitely getting rugged tomorrow on Monday, right? So, I think there's a little bit of that sentiment as well. But let's dive into a bit of TA because, I think really the answers for us lie in the S&P 500 before we do start looking at Bitcoin. Well, I'll give you like the normal analysis that you always want every day, so don't worry about that. By the way, before I do carry on, these markets are not S&P, but Bitcoin and all that are tradable on Bybit, which is obviously going to be the best exchange in the game. I am struggling to pull up a link to that. This is Chart Champions, by the way. Interesting YouTube channel. If you like my stuff, you'll like them. So definitely do check them out if you're looking for, perhaps some more YouTubers to watch that you kind of might vibe with. But yeah, check out Bybit with the link in the description below. That, obviously the best exchange in the game. They've been that way for a while. And they've got a huge, kind of bonus running for you guys right now. I believe this is the page for it. So yeah, you've got, quite a sizable prize pool If you can get your share of $1 million. So definitely do check that out if you are interested. That's going to be linked in the description for you, along with the link to Blowfin, which is a great alternative to Bybit if you don't want to use Bybit for whatever reason. And of course, always be mindful of your country's local laws and regulations. Okay, make sure that you abide by your country's laws and regulations. But bringing it to the S&P 500 here, beautiful setup right now, where I think it's looking pretty good. I mean, we managed to get a nice little correction here. Since then we've been finding support at an old area of resistance. We also used this area of support briefly, so that's a good sign. What I don't like is it is starting to look a little bit heavy now. There is definitely some implied weakness. The fact that we haven't been able to continue on already. Bear in mind, by the way, this index has not been moving since Friday, right? So it's going to reopen soon. When's it going to reopen? It's going to take about 18 hours, so not that long now. For us to see, and I think that if it's able to kind of recover from here and get a little bit higher, then we're good. We've seen situations like this before where you kind of pull off a recovery, but your initial performance is not great, and then you kind of you manage to pull through later on. So there's plenty of potential here, and that's why I don't think that it's really that bearish. But the bearish perspective is pretty straightforward. We entered a downtrend up here, and now we're forming our first kind of rising channel or whatever, right, in order to take the market lower. And we've seen plenty of examples like that as well, right? This would be a very, very easy one to point out, and we're more or less kind of doing the same thing right now, right? So that's going to be what you're looking at if you're bearish. For me, I really put a lot of focus on this line here, because I honestly the reason I put this line here and the reason I'm not moving it is because it's funny. It's just straight up funny to me. And the reason that it's funny for me, ladies and gents, is because I find it absolutely ridiculous the level of panic that people have in this market right now from, what is literally a 10.4% drop. It's really, this is ultimately why I remain so giga bullish compared to everybody else in the market. Even if the shit slides lower, the point stays the same. Which is that, for the amount of hysteria, for the amount of sadness, for the amount of crying, for the amount of finger pointing, for the amount of just shit going on in this space right now in all markets, and especially in crypto, if you look at the percentage drops from their all-time highs, we're just not down by that much, right? Bitcoin itself is only down by 22%. Like, grow the fuck up. This is Bitcoin. If you can't take that, then you need to get out. You're just not suited for this market. This is very normal for Bitcoin. It's actually extremely unusual. Actually, I take it back. It's very unusual because Bitcoin usually dumps by a hell of a lot more than this. So, because from that high, by the way, down to this low, that wasn't even, that was just about a 30% drop. It's just not that severe at all. We've seen significantly harder pullbacks in previous bull markets, right? Look at this one right here. This one ended up from high to low, taking us down by 55%. This one ended up taking us down by like 60%, and we recover these. They're not a big problem, right? Look at this one right here. This one was going to be 40%. This is another 40%. It's everywhere. We pull off these big reversals regularly, just not now, right? Yet sentiment is the worst it's ever been, really. And I think a big part of that is people kind of realizing that they're not going to get, super rich off Bitcoin alone. So, I think there's a little bit of like, well, shit, what do we buy? And that's why meme coins have kind of gone crazy and so on. And we'll definitely cover those. So if you're interested in that, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. We're on that shit when it's hot, so don't worry about that. But I think, it comes back to this Trump thing where, if we're getting good things happening in the market, but the market can't really do anything about it, then, you have to look at, well, what's going to happen if something bad happens? And I think that that's also been interesting because we have seen bad things happen, like tariffs. And the reason I'm putting that in speech marks is because tariffs don't have to be bad for the stock market or whatever. But, obviously if the reaction is negative, then that's what it's going to be. And so we have seen that kind of resulting in the drop off, right? The tariff discussions probably would have definitely intensified, somewhere around the middle of February. So, we've definitely got some cause for this drop right here, but it's like I said, if you're bearish, then that's what you're seeing, and there's good support levels below each of these boxes. There's no point really getting too deep into it until we lose that level, if we do. So that's what I'm looking at. That means the invalidation for the SPX is going to be about 55.90. Somewhere around here, very, very good level if the S&P 500 drops for you to start expecting the market to drop lower potentially. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Here's my disclaimer. Don't worry about anything I say. Who knows? I'm just a 23-year-old. Nothing that I know, right? But yeah, that's going to be kind of the bearish side. And then obviously on the bullish side, I think the fact that, it's consolidated for a little bit is going to help it, if it does end up moving higher. And so, I do definitely think that hitting this range at about 58.30 is going to be quite doable for the S&P 500 moving forward. And that's going to be a really nice zone of support and previous resistance, and then flipping into support. So it could definitely turn into resistance. Now, maybe we do something like that. I don't know. Obviously, I think most of this is going to depend on policy coming out of the White House. Tariffs, we got April 2 or April 4, so one of those 2 days, I'm pretty sure it was April 2, where more tariffs are going to be coming in, or something. I don't really know. I don't even keep up with the specifics because they change so much that you would just go crazy. So, and I don't think it's necessary. Clearly it's not going to help you trade better. So why the hell would you do it? Like, just because you like the drama? Okay, well, I don't like drama, so I'm not gonna look. But that's kind of my take, right? I mean, and it's a wild card. I don't think that I'm in the business of kind of predicting what Trump is gonna do. I think and I had this discussion with somebody recently that one of the best bets is actually going to be kind of seeing this market stabilize a little bit. With Trump kind of if Trump manages to get his way, things will probably stabilize afterwards. Everybody will tell you that that's not the case, but these are the same people that make everything sensationalized. So if we're maintaining a realistic kind of outlook and a realistic discussion on these matters, then obviously things are going to cool down eventually, and to say that they won't is I'm a trader, okay, and as a trader I don't really speak in definites like that. Thinking that a weird circumstance is going to persist for the next 4 years. That's just not realistic. That's just not. Markets have a lot of different phases and a lot of different characteristics in those different phases, and the idea that we stay in one phase for 4 years, to me, is just absolutely ridiculous. It's just not how it's never happened. It's never happened. It's not how markets work. I think a lot of people have their feelings hurt. I can understand why. Not the point. But because of that, they're just saying stupid things about the markets, right? And that's basically what's happening. So obviously, I think this is going to get better. We were already pointing up and to the right on all of these charts before Trump took office, and I think that that's going to continue to fare well for us as time goes on. Whether it was Trump or Kamala, I think that it's really, really important to have that understanding. This isn't like a Trump thing that the markets are going to go up, not at all. The markets went up very, very well under Biden, just as much as they went very well under Obama. So. It's really not a president's thing, and if you think it is a president's thing, then you're just too deep on Twitter, bro. You're just spending too much time, studying politics or whatever, and you're losing what real life looks like as a result. Okay, please keep that in mind. And if you agree with that, if you find that kind of sentiment, important to say, please do me a favor and smash those likes up. We need to get this message out to more people. I think too many people are too crazy with politics, but realistically, these markets are still looking good. So smash them up if you do appreciate that. Double check that you are subscribed, of course, as well. Really, really cool stuff. But bringing it back to the market here, I mean, look, what I really don't like is the fact that we kind of swept this low, but it's whatever. As long as we can kind of sustain, we're good. But we're not sustaining so far. I mean, if we look at this move up here, this was a really nice sizable 20% move inside of 3 days. On this occasion here, I mean, from our low to our current price, it's been 2 weeks and we're only up by 11%. So we're literally taking, 5 times longer, potentially, whatever, 4 times longer, and we're moving up by half the amount. So, definitely, bad performance here, I think, for Bitcoin, and definitely the kind of performance that indicates that this thing is going to, this kind of thing usually ends up looking like that. It's just going to come back down, it's going to find support again, but only very, very briefly, and then it's going to, just rip. So, that's going to be kind of what this chart looks like right now. But as we know, these charts are really very heavily manipulated. And so, on the flip side, all we've got to do is sweep some highs. We've got an interesting level right here at about kind of, 86.5 or whatever, somewhat interesting level, a little bit of interaction here, a little bit of interaction here. We're clutching at straws here. There's really not that much, but if we do end up kind of getting higher, then yeah, resistance is going to be sitting at about 90, and I do think that this will be a problem for Bitcoin, so we'll have to see how Bitcoin deals with it if it does get there. This is going to be dependent entirely on the S&P 500 tomorrow. So if the S&P 500 moves up, and especially if it moves up aggressively, then we might see Bitcoin getting here quickly. Otherwise, if the S&P kind of goes down, then Bitcoin's got a really good chart to drop lower. But it's like I said, man, like, I mean, you can be upset about it, whatever, you do you. It's not my business. But am I showing you? I'm not even showing you the whole chart, am I? I hope I haven't been cutting stuff off because I was supposed to resize this a little bit. That's my bad. Hopefully that hasn't impacted the video. I totally did not realize that that I got the sizing of my weight because I'm on an ultra wide, but I'm only recording at 1080p, so like literally only like one half of my monitor is being used. Anyway, hopefully that wasn't a problem. I don't think it was, but yeah, what we have here, pretty clearly is still just a phenomenal, I mean, falling into this yellow box puts us at about 35%, which is a really healthy, digestible drop for Bitcoin. If you manage to get a drop like this inside of a bull market, then, to me, that's going to be an indication that, you've got a lot more steam left in the bull, at least like another 2 months of like solid green. Is my conclusion from, these kind of drops, because obviously it allows a lot of impatient sellers to kind of get rid of their Bitcoin. And if you're buying down here, like you've obviously, number one, you got bulls of steel. Number two, you're probably very patient compared to the previous holders. And, patient holders are what you want because patient holders don't panic sell and they result in, the kind of up only price action. The problem is these guys are dangerous, right? I mean, like they're going to dump the market too. So, eventually you're going to have to pay for that. But that's a separate discussion, and those are discussions that we've had many times on this YouTube channel as well, the kind of inner mechanics behind how that stuff works. So if that kind of stuff interests you, then definitely do make sure to stay subscribed to the channel, smash up the likes, all those good stuff. And obviously, yeah, like I said, beautiful offers in the description below. Also a phenomenal package right here, a very, very powerful package. Yeah, you could see my you couldn't see my description before, could you? I guess that was kind of off screen a little bit. That's my bad. That's okay. But yeah, a beautiful offer. If you do want to get in right here, you just reach out and ask me for details on that, and a member of the team will get back to you. But yeah, I think, as far as Bitcoin goes right here, it's got its validation at about, whatever, 86, below this, if it gets below 77, it's really not a chart you can say that much about. It really isn't. People can, try, but they're just going to be wasting their time, I think, for the most part. There's not a whole lot. I don't know why this window keeps on resizing. This is so strange, but here you go. And so, I think, falling down to this level would be absolutely great. Obviously, as we know, we do have our Fibonacci retracements in this zone. Okay, we've got our golden pocket right here. So, you literally can't get better than that as far as support goes. So I still want to see the market coming down here. Like I said, I don't know if the market's going to give it to us, but I really hope it does. It would be a really nice level to see the market kind of retrace down to. And it would allow the S&P 500 to pull back. One of the things that you're going to remember if you've been watching this channel for a while is I've been saying for a long time, man, that we need to get pullbacks in this market, right? I mean, this S&P 500 chart just hasn't seen enough pullbacks, and the pullbacks haven't been big enough. This one, I really wanted this one to be a bigger pullback, to kind of come back down to the previous all-time high right here. It would have been, it would have only been like a 9% drop, but we just didn't. We front ran the support. Now we're seeing a bigger drop, obviously. So, my take is like, while we're here, man, fuck it. Can we just take this thing down like 20%? It's going to be basically back down to the previous all-time high. If we can just rip it down here by another 10, there's going to be a lot of crying, a lot of sadness for a little bit. But, I mean, obviously, I would expect that, a very, very sharp drop like that would be recovered pretty quickly as well. So, we're not going to be there for long. And, once it's out of the way, we can kind of keep going, right? So, that's kind of my take on that. Obviously there's going to be dependent on certain stocks, and Tesla's been doing somewhat well. I don't really think that this stuff is worth reading into, because first of all, everybody has been creaming over Tesla dropping by 50%, but I just find it silly. I mean, 50% drops, like every single drop I'm showing you right here is a 50% drop. Like, it's just, this one's 40, my bad. But it's just like highly expected, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but it's like very much like obvious that a market like Tesla is going to have incredibly sharp pullbacks with a CEO like Elon, and whatever. It's just very, very clear to me that these kind of 50% drops are to be expected. I think the fact that it stops precisely at 50% or just around there is actually quite interesting. Obviously these stocks aren't going anywhere. They're not dying. I can't think of a company that's more bullish than Tesla, for God's sakes. Like, I don't care what you think about Tesla. Just look at the tech that they're putting out. If you can't, like, look past Elon and his politics to understand that Tesla is the best positioned automotive company in the world right now for the next 5-10 years. If you can't see that, I don't know what to say to you. Like, you're just like too blinded by your opinions. But I'll tell you what, the markets won't be blinded like that with you. So If you want to be blinded, that's you. You'll do that at your own detriment. But, reality is different. Reality is very, very strong for Tesla right now. With all of the upcoming releases that they have, they're the only company innovating, and they've literally changed the world. Everyone's been moving into EVs as well. It's not a far stretch at all that their kind of FSD software is going to be taking over next. We've got NVIDIA partnering up with Toyota as well or whatever. So, there's competition here, and that's absolutely beautiful. But, clearly is still the strongest player in the game by a long shot. So, and I think that's why I'm just not worried about the S&P 500, right? I mean, if these companies are good and they're just kind of like, dipping 50 because, that's what they do, and, they get a little bit overextended, so they need to come back down. That puts all of this in perspective. It's just nothing concerning, right? This shit can drop by another 10%, and it still can't be concerning. That's kind of ultimately what I'm getting at. Let's take a look at altcoins a little bit. Here's Ethereum against Bitcoin, finding a ceiling where it was previously finding support. No surprises here. Bitcoin's dominance, holding steady, nothing crazy. Solana sitting at 130. They're all just waiting. Everybody's waiting for the S&P 500, and so am I. So with that, ladies and gents, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I wish I could say more, but, if I tried to, then I'd probably just be lying to you or shoving shit down your throat. I'm not going to do either of those things. I'm just telling it to you like it is. You're trading in these markets. I'm trading in these markets. We both got vested interest in making sure that we got realistic, healthy approaches in this market, and that's what I'm aiming to bring here. So if you have enjoyed this one, you know exactly what to do. Hit up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff. Check out those beautiful links in the description if you are allowed to in your country, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.